Dune, we are live. We are live. We are live.
Live.
All right. Let's see. I got your YouTube. Yep. Already got it. Here's the link. You got the link. I'm going to tweet it. You're going to tweet it. We're going to get started. This is beautiful.
Not too shabby.
No.
I did 2 interviews today as well.
With who? I read the Times article with Matt Baker. We don't have to talk about it.
He did a great job with that.
So I thought that was a great. So first of all, the people that are reading the St. Pete Times probably aren't in tune with what's going on with NIL, you know?
Not at all.
So I think Matt Baker, for us, that was a very basic article. Like, it didn't really give me or you any new insight, but I feel like it was important for that article to run in the space that it did because it's going to inform a lot of people. I don't feel like that was like a real newsy article to us, but it covered the basics of what's happening, why it's not good for not just Florida State, but all of the universities, and what people are doing to fix it. And that was it. It didn't really have a conclusion. It didn't really have like a, but I think that reached a lot of people for the first time that realized that there's a problem with NIL.
Yeah. I always give people too much information, especially reporters. I try to give them a lot of good tidbits, things I haven't said before, and information I haven't necessarily given out before. But I do always have that worry in the back of my head that someone's going to write down every word I say, right? It's not because I don't want to be held liable. Of course, everything that comes out of my mouth I'm fine with it being written on paper. But the whole story is hard to tell to somebody that has had no interaction with it. The whole story might be something that is palatable for the FSU fan, right? Someone that has some type of interaction with me, knows what Big Heart is, or maybe even watch a podcast. But for the normal individual, I think that it's a tough ask to swallow that much. So I do think that he did a good job explaining the general premise and name, image, and likeness, what's going on in the state of Florida, how that's impacting me and my teammates and athletes all across the state of Florida. So I think he did a good job, especially with what's going on right now, and that being some pretty pertinent news.
Yeah, it was good. I think it puts the issue on the radar of a lot of people that maybe didn't know about exactly what was going on or just thought that everything's great.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is tough, right? It's a hard pill to swallow, especially because the outsider's perspective is like, oh, we just gave these kids their rights, name, image, and likeness. They already have them. How could they possibly be wanting more? How could these colleges want more? Opening up the floodgates. But it's not that. It's taking a step back, analyzing the current environment, and hopefully promoting some good change.
Right. Well, nonetheless, it was good for you to get some words out there.
Oh yeah. No, I'll again.
It's pretty cool, just the fact that they chose you to focus the article on, like
Yeah, and I've said this before. I'll never turn down a speaking engagement, whether that be with one individual. Like today, I talked to a student here at Florida State writing for the paper here on campus, and he was just shocked by the way I engage with him. But at the end of the day, like I don't care who you are, what walk of life. If you're willing and you're going to take time out of your day to hear me talk, I'm going to try to engage with you to the best of my ability. And I hate when that shocks people, just because, of course, there are bad cookies out there, and players that see media as a task they have to complete before they can go home and play video games. But for me, media is a great strategic tool. It helps me get my message out there. It helps me build relationships that are hopefully solid and lasting. But yeah, it's been a great experience here at Florida State, at least speaking to media. And I've talked to people from all walks of life. So it's been really a kind of all-encompassing type of event over the past year or so around Big Heart.
Awesome. We ready?
Yep, I'm gonna retweet yours right now
for the 21st taping.
That's a lot of episodes, man.
That is. That's 21 weeks. How many? That's like half a year. 20 or no, wait. Yeah, that's almost half a year. 25, 26 episodes is like half a year.
Yeah. And people are talking. People are saying it's too many episodes.
No
I'm
way.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I was going to punch those people.
Yeah, we'll find them. No question. You
All
ready,
right.
ready to get this thing off?
Yep, I'm ready. All right.
Let's do it.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Big Man, Big Heart with Dillan Gibbons. I am your host, Josh Newberg. This is episode 21. We are coming to you live on a Thursday evening. At least from YouTube, we're live. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, thank you. We are back for another week of Big Man, Big Heart. Dillan Gibbons, how you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. It's been a great week for Big Man, Big Heart. Been a great week for me in the classroom, and of course on the football field. Again, we're a whole week into the second half of tour duty. Right now, we're basically lifting every day. We're running and doing the tour duty twice a week. Our workouts start at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm kind of a psychopath when it comes to waking up and being early. So I'm getting up at 4, getting over to the facility at 4:30. My trainers are accommodating enough to open up the doors at 4:30. When I get in there, get some treatment done, get my mind right, and then go in and attack as much as I can possibly do in tour duty.
4:30, man. I'm an early riser too. When I'm busy, I mean, I can get up before 5, but I'm more of like a 5:30 guy. I love the peacefulness of the morning.
I do too. That's one of my favorite parts, at least about my experience here at Florida State. You know, we practice during the mornings all season. Of course, it is an attempt to avoid the sun, right? To avoid dehydration during the season. But for me, again, it was awesome waking up. I woke up at 4:30 every morning this whole season, no matter what kind of day it was. Just so many more hours in the day.
On the weekends, do you still wake up early, or can you really sleep? Can you sleep till like 10:30, 11 o'clock?
You know, everything's good in proportions, right? So it's not like I don't know, binged and purged. You know, it's like that's not what I did. So basically, I wake up at 4:30 every day that I had to. If I didn't necessarily have to, you know, I'd sleep in until about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at the most. That's kind of my. If you think about like a working adult compared to a football player, you know that is my day-to-day grind. It's something that I embraced. I really. One of the biggest things for me is being the first guy in the facility, right, and the last one to leave. Some people just say that, right, and they might show up early and then, you know, hang out. But for me, I'm trying to get the most as I possibly can out of the day. So I'm getting there early. As soon as the trainers walk in the door, I'm waiting for them to open up the door to let me in there, to get some treatment, to get some prehab, to get some rehab, and just attack the morning. So again, I love mornings. I'm a morning person. As long as I wake up on time, you know, if my Pavlov, so I wear a Pavlov on my wrist every morning before I go to sleep, right? It's basically, it runs off Pavlov's theorem. So it's, again, just trying to stimulate some type of behavior over a time period. So what it does is it beeps in the morning when, like, say I set my alarm for 4:30. 4:30 comes around, it beeps. If I don't wake up to that, it buzzes. If I don't wake up to that, it shocks me. So again, it's a powerful tool because like I'd imagine a lot of people listening to this and a lot of people out there, you know, rely on their little cell phone, right? And sometimes that alarm doesn't go off, and sometimes you make a mental error that you know you might not set it. Your iPhone might update in the middle of the night, but it's an added level of protection to go ahead and make sure that I wake up no matter what. And that thing hasn't failed me yet, and I'm a firm believer in their product. You can find it on Amazon.
I'm gonna check that out.
That's not even a plug. Like that's just a tool I use on my daily basis.
I've never heard of that. I don't have a problem waking up though. And
my
biggest problem is sleeping in. Like no matter what time I go to bed, I probably can't sleep past 7. Like I could stay up all night party and go to bed at like 4, and I'm still getting up at like 7:30. But
yeah, I have the same issue. I kind of have to force myself to go back to sleep sometimes, especially when I am trying to. I don't know, an off season, like when I was home in December, of course, I wasn't waking up at 4:30 every morning. But yeah, the Pavlov's a great device. It was actually originally invented to stop people from smoking cigarettes. So basically, whoever developed it, I'm not sure exactly what, they put a sensor in the device. So if you raise your hand up to your mouth, it would shock you. That was the original intentions. That's not what I use it for. I'm not a cigarette smoker. But it's a very good tool. You know, make sure you wake up, and
that's cool.
And if you do get that little couple volts of electricity running through your hand, it's a good start to the morning. You know, it's an instant rush.
Then you definitely know it's time to wake up. All right, so school's going good.
Yeah,
You
school's
got
going
your
great.
academics in order. You're eligible for spring ball.
I hope so, right? That's probably the least of my issues at this point. Again, I'm putting my best foot forward in the NBA program. Having a lot of group meetings late at night, especially because most of the other participants inside the program are working adults. So they're kind of working around their own schedules, their family life, their spouses. Something that I don't necessarily have to worry about. So I'm just trying to be as accommodating as possible. I have a meeting here at 9:00 at night, which of course, it's not the most exciting of a thing. But again, it's another opportunity for me to get better, another opportunity for me to engage with people and just continue to do as much networking as possible.
Very cool. All right, well, let's get into it. What is the latest with Big Man, Big Heart? I know on Monday we had the big bourbon giveaway. So how did that go?
Bourbon giveaway went great. We ended up putting together. It took me a while, right, to compile the list. We had a lot of entries, more than I could have ever, at least reasonably, kind of saw coming forward. It was absolutely crazy the amount of people that stepped up and purchased the tickets to get into the bourbon raffle. But again, we came to 3 winners. So the first winner was Scott Duran. He's from Boca Raton, Florida. Then we had Robert Ashburn, Tallahassee, Florida, and then David Belcher. He's from Tarpon Springs, Florida. So those are our 3 winners. 2 of those individuals, I couldn't find them on Twitter, right? So of course I emailed everybody, but 2 of them actually responded to the tweet of me putting that out. I don't want to say because it's kind of a PG-13 podcast, but their reactions were pretty funny. So if you go on my page and look through my tweets, their reactions were very candid. Most of them didn't receive the email or see it yet, so they put some very funny things, at least in the quote tweets of my actual announcing the winners of the bourbon raffle.
Are we still searching for the 3rd winner, or you just found them? You emailed them?
So I shot them an email last night. So again, I'd imagine they're probably going to get around to it.
Right.
If the 3rd person does not necessarily show up, then I will find them.
I assume between Twitter, this podcast, and Spaces, I gotta think that they listen to one of them.
You'd think so.
How else would they have gotten into the raffle, really?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to do as much multimedia marketing as I possibly could, but at the end of the day, you either would have had known someone from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
right,
or had some type of relation with Florida State athletics. So I'm sure
hopefully we can get this man his bourbon. That's all.
They'll figure out, and once I indicate that person, whoever exactly has not stepped up and seen it on Twitter, or at least DM me or followed back with the email, I'll be sure to get them the bottle no matter what. I'll be able to find their address because they had to put it in to actually
somehow, some way. We will get this man his bourbon, but that's great.
Exactly.
Glad to hear that the bourbon giveaway went well. Maybe we can do another rendition of that down the road, knowing how well that went. Speaking of events coming up, though, the fishing trip. We're getting closer and closer to that date.
Yeah. So the event that I'm going to be running through Big Man, Big Heart, it's basically going to be a teach a man to fish event, right? So we're going to be bringing anywhere from 70 to 90 kids from the Boys and Girls Club over to Joe Budd Youth Conservation Center, which is at Joe Budd Park. It's basically a large lake, right? It's an overstocked lake. I was told it was grossly overstocked to the point where these kids are definitely going to catch a fish. They're going to have a positive experience. So the event has been structured in trying to utilize my sponsors in very creative ways, right? So Good Sam's going to be stepping up, donating some products and materials, things to send the kids home with, some of the equipment being used in the event. So they're going to have a number of employees there donating their time to teach these kids how to fish. Bass Pro Shops also stepped up, donating some employees' time, right? So these people are going to be taking their own time out of their weekend to come to this event. Again, just teaching these kids how to fish. And then Florida FWC. Again, I've been trying to get in contact with them for a number of months now, and I've had different interactions throughout football season and into the off season. I actually got on the phone with the director of the FWC, so Director Sutton. I got on the phone with him yesterday, and of course, he had some previous knowledge of what I was attempting to do. Some of the things that were left out, at least in his briefing, were I'm a college football player, of course, in the NBA program, and just what I've been able to do through Big Man, Big Heart, and what Big Man, Big Heart actually is. So I went ahead and informed him. I told him what I've been able to do, how much the Florida State community's rallied around me, and given me the opportunity to connect different people from different walks of life together to support these kids. So Director Sutton gave me the full endorsement of the Florida FWC in any initiative I'm going to put on. So again, I'm here. I'm announcing a partnership with the Florida FWC. So basically, I have always been envious of those jobs. I grew up watching TV, watching them and seeing what they do to conserve Florida's natural resources. And some of those people, they absolutely put their lives on the line and just to protect some of the things that we don't even necessarily see on a daily basis. So I think it's going to be a very, very, very positive experience. Director Sutton had some very creative ideas of how they can support, of course, involving officers. So there's going to be 30 plus officers there at this point. Those officers are going to be teaching these kids about the conservation efforts here in the state of Florida, the rules and regulations around fishing. And of course, you got to imagine these people, they spend a fair amount of time out there in nature, out there on the water. They're pretty passionate about that. So they're going to be another great resource to teach these kids the ins and outs of fishing, right? So there's going to be an educational side of this event. Then there's going to be like a physical, we're going to get out there, we're going to do some fishing, tie some knots, going to teach them the ins and outs, right? The what baits to use for bass, catfish, bluegill, brim, whatever it might be in freshwater fishing here in Tallahassee. So again, I'm so excited. Director Sutton actually even mentioned them bringing an alligator out to the actual event.
You going to wrestle it?
I might have to. It depends.
You got to
how
show
big
the kids how it's done.
I wouldn't want to make it an unfair fight. So, but again, I'm really excited to have this partnership. It's nothing I would have ever foreseen, no matter what kind of foresight I could have possibly had when I was younger, or even in the past couple of years. Just to be able to have this kind of reach, to have this power behind Big Man, Big Heart, really, really says a lot. It says a lot about the community here at Florida State and the power of doing good. So I'm so happy to be able to make a partnership with them, to be able to help them out, continue their mission, and promote Big Man, Big Heart, and hopefully add to these kids' lives.
That's really cool. Any other Big Man, Big Heart news, or is that it for right? Is that where we're at now?
There's a lot of things going on, of course, with the coordination of these efforts. This stuff doesn't just happen by itself. So I'm trying to do my best, put my best foot forward every day to work hard to help make an impact while I'm still here in Tallahassee.
Nice. All right. Something else I wanted to ask you about. I'm hearing that there are leadership meetings taking place within Florida State football program. Are you a part of this? What are these leadership meetings all about?
Yeah, so Coach Thompson is called upon basically junior, seniors, and anyone after that, right? So including the 6-year senior to come together as the leaders of the team to discuss some of the things going on, and of course to learn about each other's perspectives, our leadership styles, and try to put us in sort of an abrasive position, right, where we can call each other into question, and at the end of the day, try to analyze how best we could lead this team and lead this team to success. Again, the coaches aren't out there on the field with us. When we're out there playing big games, when we're out there playing Notre Dame, when we're out there playing Clemson, the coaches weren't there. It's all about trust, right? Trust between player to player, which is, of course, the strongest form of trust. And then trust between a coach to a player, and then from a player to an organization. So, again, just trying to build that trust from the ground up right now, really relying on our senior guys to take a step forward, right? Not only doing setting the expectation right and doing the minimum, but taking a step forward and bringing the younger guys with us. So again, I think that having this program right now will lead us into a great direction as we move into spring. People start realizing who the actual leaders of our team will be here in 2022. So I'm very excited to be part of that group. I'm excited to bring other guys with me. I talked a lot last night when we had that meeting, and I was really, really fired up. Let me tell you what. It's absolutely awesome being a group of guys that actually care, want to make each other better, want to push each other to their limits, and want to form that bond, right, and get to know each other personally and challenge each other directly.
Sounds really cool. How long will you guys do this? Is this something that will be like through that whole off season, through the spring?
I'm not really sure the big picture of this. Again, this is my first off season here at Florida State,
right? But
I would imagine this is something that's going to be continued throughout the spring. We'll go on a break, of course, and as we get back into the summer, this is something to be picked right back up. Because, again, you can't meet enough with that group of guys, especially when you're talking about having a finger on the pulse here at Florida State. Even for the coaches, having a strategic group of leaders inside the team really helps them and alleviates their burden of having to hyperanalyze what's going on inside of the team, where they can just call upon one of us to just give them what's going on,
Hey, Dylan, give a shout out to National Truck Protection.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Wade Bontrager, National Truck Protection. Again, a wonderful company. If you have a light duty or even a heavy duty truck, Again, they have a wonderful product. I can tell you they're going to treat you like a family. Wade has honestly been one of the biggest figures in my life, at least as far as Big Man Big Heart goes, and outreach efforts. National Truck Protection actually is providing a full salary for one of my interns here at Big Man Big Heart. So I'm so happy to have them on my team and have them on my side. Again, if you're looking for insurance for a light duty or heavy duty truck, please give them a call. Look them up, nationaltruckprotection.com.
Awesome. So back to tour duty, the coaches, it's a dead period. So the coaches are off the road. We were talking about tour duty in January and the coaches were on the road. Is there any difference when the coaches are there?
Oh yeah. No question. Of course there's a difference in the field, right? And all those eyes preying upon you, but it's a good thing, right? We get to have interaction with these coaches. They're getting us ready for spring football. And these are the people you really, as an athlete, you have to build that bank of trust. You have to let them know that you're doing everything you possibly can to get yourself better this spring in this winter workout series. So having Coach Atkins there is a great advantage, right? Because basically half our tour duty workout is the map drills, is the things that you've seen, the more difficult conditioning-based drills. The other half, again, is conditioning-based, but it's more football-specific movements, right? Mm-hmm. So as an offensive line, we go through certain drills. Of course, there's a small sprint at the end, but for the most part, it's kind of the start of the progression as an offensive lineman, right? Start from the ground up, right? We're not necessarily putting in everything we have in our playbook right now, but we're able to accomplish some of the football-style movements while getting that conditioning in.
Is this the point of winter conditioning where you're just ready to hit somebody?
Yeah, I'm like that about year-round. Of course, it is nice to have a few days off after the season, but again, I love working out, and that's been my biggest passion even before football. Being in shape, being flexible, getting my mobility in. But when football rolls around, it's definitely a different feel.
And March 5th has been announced as the very first date for Florida State spring ball. Will you guys do conditioning like all the way up to that? Do you take a couple of days off before spring ball starts?
It's
you don't
difficult
know.
For me.
You haven't been here
for me to get a ballpark kind of schedule. At the end of the day, all I know is I'm going to be there and be ready to practice. I'm going to have all the boys pretty hyped up to get after it for those 15 practices.
Hell yeah. Is everybody hyped up? How's the energy level been?
The energy's going pretty good. Again, at least in my unit on the offensive line, we had for the past couple of years a bunch of young guys basically just compressing and putting games on games, good film on good film, learning a lot about the game of football. And they're to the point now where those young guys are becoming older, right? And they've came to a kind of a crux in their position in football, right? There's always a certain point in offensive lineman's trajectory, right? And this whole path around in college where he has to make a decision. Is this game for him, or is he going to get passed up by a younger guy? Is he going to be shelved and taking reps off, or is he going to keep progressing? And what I've seen is at least the guys that I've been playing with and the guys that you saw last year, I've already made that decision. It's already writing on the wall that there are going to be proponents and they're going to be a major part of the offensive line come next season. And again, I'm just so excited to be part of this group. Everyone that I've had an interaction with that is in our offensive line group right now has made a commitment to themselves and the guy next to them, that they're putting their best foot forward. They're getting ready for spring ball and absolutely ready to start putting together a full offensive line unit. Not necessarily one that will be questioned from game to game. A consistent unit of guys that are playing for each other and not necessarily for their own selfish intentions.
Yeah, it's spring is kind of a time where things separate, the men from the boys, right? That's kind of the speech you just gave. Like this is when you find out. So
yeah,
that is an interesting, there is a life cycle for everything. And what do you do if you start getting passed up? I mean, I guess nowadays you can go into the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is an option for some individuals. But at the end of the day, like you're not going to get passed up unless you make that decision, right? If it's a clear indication to coach, if it's a clear indication to everybody on our staff that you're no longer putting the effort that meets the standard, right? If you're not either retaining your position, right, and staying even or declining your position, then I do think that there are other options, right? And again, it's a long summer. Spring is a good indication, right? It's not it doesn't have the glory that season has, right? There isn't that much of an incentive, right, to get better each day. But it's a long progression. And again, that's a choice everyone has to make. But spring is usually a good indication of what the group will look like. But having said that, I've been part of a number of pretty good offensive lines. And spring isn't always a good indication. You know, you might have a few pieces and a few players that are absolutely written on the wall, right, that have a position, and they've encapsulated that during spring and shown their worth. But some things do flip around on you. That's kind of like what my experience was at Notre Dame. You know, it's definitely the same kind of conversation.
Yeah. And what is Coach Atkins? What can a coach do because a coach doesn't want, I mean, there's probably a few guys a coach wants to leave his room at the end of every year, but he doesn't want a ton of attrition because you want to continue to develop guys. So how can a coach kind of balance?
Exactly. So Coach Atkins, even just every offensive line coach, they don't have a lot of time, right? And Coach Atkins is in a more unique position than most O-line coaches, having to deal with a full offense and be your offensive coordinator. Coaches don't have time to teach each individual player and push them every single day. That's not what they're in the job for. They can't do that. They'd have to be 8 coaches.
Right.
Coach has to decide which guys he's going to push, right? And he's only going to push a player so far, If that player doesn't catch on and he doesn't start learning and he doesn't start, increasing his value as an offensive lineman and doing what he came here to do, what FSU doesn't recruit bad football players at all. Right. They recruit very capable individuals that can block people, and they're supposed to be able to block people. They're supposed to be able to be a very good offensive lineman. So again, when they're coming in here and they aren't necessarily progressing the way Coach Atkins wants, and they show that to them visually, and every drill they do, they're just holding back and they're not finishing. They're not that committed. They're not part of the group. And those are some clear indications that to coach that he needs to take some time off that player and put it on another player. So again, I absolutely don't necessarily want Coach Atkins' job because he has so much to manage. But again, he has to spend his time wisely. He can't just spend all of his time on a guy that doesn't really care and hasn't made that decision to pursue being a good football player.
Yeah, you got to know where to invest.
Exactly.
The Super Bowl was this week, and we'll wrap it up here with the Super Bowl. I think I was rooting for the Bengals, but I thought the Rams had a good chance at winning. It was a great game. I don't think either of us were that passionate about either program, but it was a great game. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it. Great game. There's not really much to be said at this point that hasn't already been said. But definitely made it interesting, which is always nice for a Super Bowl. You don't necessarily see a dominating force for most of the game. But at the end of the day, yeah, great competition. Ben Skronik from Notre Dame on the Rams. That's another great player, number 18. I'm just so excited for him because, again, that was a guy that's been through so much adversity. And for him to do what he did at Notre Dame and now not do that in the NFL and have that kind of shot,
pretty cool to see.
Amazed.
Yeah, pretty cool to see one of your buddies accomplish something like that. Somebody and especially their struggle and what it took to get there for them.
No question at all. And yeah, there's so many funny stories about Ben Skronik, but he's a great guy, and I'm just so excited for him. And I know that he's going to absolutely remember that moment for the rest of his life.
Well, hopefully you and some of your FSU teammates from this team go on to accomplish great things like that, and we can talk about it on this podcast after it happens.
Yeah, I hope so.
What did you eat during the game? Anything special?
Nothing really special. Pretty normal foods, being honest. It's just like hot wings, things like that, chicken wings. Had some nachos. That's about it. I didn't really eat that much, if I'm being honest. I kind of didn't do a great job, being back home would have been different. If I was with my mom, I wouldn't have had any complaints. I'd have had a plethora of food. But of course, I was at a different event, and I didn't necessarily prepare.
Well, I started a tradition when I was in college at Florida State. 2002, the Buccaneers were in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And me and my neighbor cooked ribs that day. And my neighbor is Colby Masterson, who you are familiar with the family.
Yep.
And he, obviously went to Florida State too. So shout out to Colby if anybody's listening. But here's the gist of the story. we wanted to do something special because the Bucks were in the Super Bowl, we're away from home. Like I was probably 20, 21 years old, had never thrown like a grown-up party, like with food and stuff. So we're like, what can we do that's special? We're like, we're going to cook ribs. So I think we cooked maybe 2 racks of ribs, maybe 3. I don't know. But we cooked some ribs. Long story short, Colby came over on Sunday and we cooked ribs. And me and Colby have watched the Super Bowl and cooked ribs together, I think nearly every Super Bowl since 2002. And ribs has to be involved.
That's pretty funny. That's an awesome tradition. Have you ever tried Montgomery Inn ribs? Montgomery Inn, it's a famous restaurant in Cincinnati. They have some absolutely wonderful sauce you can buy at Publix. But if you go on Cincy's Favorites, you can actually order Montgomery Inn ribs. I'm not from Cincinnati, but like a good part of my family at least has some interaction in Cincinnati, and I've always been a big Skyline chili freak. But Cincinnati Favorites, Montgomery Inn ribs. They'll send you full racks of already cooked ribs. You warm them up on the grill, put some barbecue sauce on them, and they're some of the most decadent ribs you ever eaten.
You can do that. Yeah, that's doable. I like that. So, we did short ribs this year. We usually do baby back, like traditional baby back ribs and all that. But this year we did short ribs. So it was just a little something different. But
that's pretty fun though. That's an awesome tradition.
Yeah. And it's just funny because we thought like, what's a really special meal? And we went with ribs.
Ribs is pretty special. You don't really cook ribs at home very often.
Yeah, you don't. And it is special. I take that back. It is special because sometimes I'll go like a whole year and not cook ribs until the Super Bowl comes around.
That's pretty funny. That's something to look forward to, though. That's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, let's wrap it up. You got any shout outs before we leave?
I got to give a great shout out to Good Sam. So I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor for this podcast, Good Sam, providing everything RVers need to have a good trip. Good Sam's Be Good to Do Good charity initiatives over the past year have done some great things for the communities in need, from outdoor activities for cystic fibrosis patients to building horse stalls for animal rescue farms and everything in between. Good Sam is partnering with Big Man Big Heart to help support my own charitable initiatives and upcoming projects. We've got plenty of plans and exciting activations in the works, and I can't wait to get it started. So to find out more and to stay in the loop on Good Sam's Be Good, Do Good initiatives and events, please visit goodsam.com. So I got a big shout out to them again. They've helped me out so much. And they're actually one of the organizations and companies that are partnering with me to put together this event here in Tallahassee come April 30th around basically it's around faith, family, football, and fishing. So please shout out to Good Sam. Please check them out. They have a lot of wonderful products. And again, they have a lot of different companies involved with Good Sam and Camping World.
All right. Shout out to them. And, Dillan, shout out to you. Thanks for coming on here every week, being insightful, being transparent, giving the fans kind of a look behind the curtain of what's happening within the football program. I'm excited for next week. I think we're going to have some sort of guest on. We won't give it away, but we are going to bring a guest on next week. So that'll be exciting. So see you guys next week. And thank you for listening. Go Noles.
Thank you so much for having me on. Again, I actually appreciate the support more than you guys could possibly imagine. I'd like to challenge everybody that listens or watches this today to please share this on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you don't have any social media, share it to a neighbor, share it to a family member, a friend. Please just help me spread the good word of Big Man Big Heart to as many people as possible. Big Man Big Heart wouldn't have been started without the fans of Florida State football, the people in this community. And I believe they could turn into something very special, something bigger than me or Josh, something bigger than any offensive lineman that's ever been at Florida State. Something that is long lasting and not necessarily attached to my name. Big Man Big Heart could be its own entity, something that lasts longer than I'll be here for. So please help me spread. Again, this podcast, my website, bigmanbigheart.com. And please encourage somebody today to look into Big Man Big Heart and hopefully become a subscriber. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. Please just help us out. So thank you guys so much.
See you next week. Go Noles.